Die Neshama ist ein Nitzchis und da wissen sie nie der Pirush in der Rufis. Als sie ist ein Neshama Nitzchis in Ganeden. Benele, was hat es für ein Scheiches mit dem, nur das hat ein Scheiches mit dem und not ein Scheiches. Bis in meistische Lei, in anhogische Lei, in der Peile, in der Masea, Tachten, Neshama begut.
My father was nifter when I was still in college. That was in 1953, and 5 years later, my mother was nifter on Yud Aleph Nissen. So I wrote to the Rebe a long, long, tearful letter, pouring out my sorrow at the loss of two parents and just being in my 20s.
Our oldest daughter became very sick. The Rebbe strongly urged me to go to California to see a physician there who was known all over the world. And at first it was successful, but 5 years later we lost our daughter. At that point, I didn't know where to turn to in this world. I wasn't sure that with all the depth and strength of my emunah, of my faith, that I could survive this. I was not sure. And I had tightness to the Rebbeinu Shalom.
When my sister, Rechalei Shustman Allah Shalom, passed away, so it was a short while after Shiva, that my mother wrote a letter to the Rebbe, how could the Rebbe do something like this, and what should she do, and how should she, how is she supposed to live through life? This was already after I've lost my older sister, Alta Schwartz.
So I wrote the letter and I made an appointment to go see the Rebbe. I walked into the room. I just stood there and I cried and cried and cried and cried and couldn't get a word out. The Rebbe just sat there looking at me very kindly. He looked very compassionate and he looked sad, reflecting my sadness. And then he said to me, ich weiß nicht, was ich kann nach mehr sagen. Ich habe alles geschrieben in my brief. And I said, I never received a letter. And then we had a very beautiful yechidus, which was based on what the letter was all about, but it was more wonderful because I received it in person. And then a few weeks later, I did receive the actual letter. All religious people, even non-Jews, believe that the creator of the world is infinite and incomprehensible. Not only did God create the world so many thousands of years ago, but it is our firm belief that God is also the continuous master of the world, who is constantly watching over it and taking care of everything and every individual. Obviously, it is impossible for a human being to understand the ways of God.
Well, the Rebbe told me it was all right to have tinus. He says, alles kann man nicht dämpfen. Die Sache was the Tishbi Yitachatz. But if we mean him that there is a Ribbono Shel Olam, that the Ribbono Shel Olam knows, Zeus Nechmasi B'Yonyi. Yeah, the Rebbe said, I remember, the Ribbono Shel Olam führt der Welt. But the Rebbe führt der Welt with his words.
Als nicht ohne Idee hat man, wir wissen nicht, den Nebelsten ist Drochen mit den Teilen, muss ich ihn wundern nicht. Verstehen, dem Sechel von den Nebelsten, sind ganz einander Sachen. Ganze Leben ist ein Mann mit Bermuna Pschuta, das ist er sie. Aber ein Beschaß ist da in Joni, was versteht nicht, Legamrik in Perle nicht. Ist aber sicher, Teva, Weihe wie Joshua. Sicher, der Rebeste tut, als Idos.
All believers in God believe also in the survival of the soul. When the physical body ceases to function, the soul continues its existence, not only as before, but even on a higher level. And here the Rebbe actually explained to me, and I thought it was beautiful. He knew that I had studied science in school because we had discussed that before. He said if you take a paper and you light a match to the paper is going to change form and shape. It won't be a paper anymore. It will be just ashes. So in that way we can understand that anything that has ever been created or existed will always remain.
Die Neshama in ihm Maimed und Matzav darf ankommen zu dem Eser, zu der Ewer im Gashmi, von Aiden, was gefühlt sich in Elam Gashmi. Als die Ewer im Gashmi sollen tun, die Dwarim Tevim oder lernen Teile wie Kajeze Bazer, Bishlichuso, waren bei ihr allein dort zugenommen, hatte die Möglichkeit, Meise Tam Shehiyeh, man hat aber gelassen die Möglichkeit für jederin und alle Jiden, Allahs kamen, wir kamen, Hakrevim, Vashayochim, als sie sollen sein, die Schluchim, und sie sollen das durchführen, Lischus, wie Ilui Anishom.
I remember this is a very profound insight of the Rebbe's, that the covered mess is not always what we do about the mess, but we do behind the mess in the sense that we take the person we lost and we memorialize them.
Davon wird echt verstandig, der Gedel HaAchrayus zusammen mit dem Gedel HaSchus von jedem, was konton, als Schliach von der Neshama.
The mother wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe answered her that the way to conquer her pain is al yedei lahamtik chay ha'almen v'chay ha'yisim, that through working in trying to do your best in comforting the almen, meaning Chalei's husband and the children, and her eniklach, that'll be a channel for her to, be able to comfort herself in some manner.
Bishas a Mensch steht in am Maimed und Masse von Masse Ruch, Teim und Nachs. Konner demol tufta. Nerer, wie steht in am Maimed und Masse von Merilus. Allahs kamen, wie steht in am Maimed und Masse von Asrus. Allahs kamen, an Neshama, was gefühlt sich in Leila Moemes. Wo der Pfarrer bepaschte Smula, a jeder Nachas Ruach, da Neshama. Ich das sage, da Yilu da Neshama.
May God grant that you will carry on the conduct of your home with joy and gladness of heart. And if you fulfill your responsibilities with joy, as your parents would want you to do, this is the greatest joy that you can bring to their souls. And this will also bring you and your additional blessings, both physically and spiritually, with blessings and then the Rebbe's signature.